Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. We are so excited to hear about this interesting topic from our own professional test giver. And thank you so much. Feel free to stand up anytime if you want to grab any snacks or drinks, okay? Thank you.
Can you all hear me? Hear me clear from the mic? Perfect. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tess Fagabur Meharizgi, to those who don't know me. So by profession, I'm applied ML scientist at Amazon Web Services especially. But this is just more of as a discussion. It's my personal opinion. It doesn't concern with my employer. Just a disclaimer.
Can you hire your voice a little bit? Can you raise your voice a little bit?
I think it could be this one. I think this is better for me. I'll forget it. Can you hear me now? It's better? Okay. Yeah. I warm up a little bit late, so bear with me. All right, so I'll start with a question. Tonight it's going to be more of a discussion, so it's not a lecture, so we'll just discuss. So the main purpose of this presentation is just to give awareness on what's going on around us so that we'll be beneficiary of this technology. Let me start with a question. How many of you have used AI, any AI application today? What way? Mm-hmm. So that's the voice application. Any other application that you have used?
I use ChatGPT.
ChatGPT for what?
Mainly to enhance paragraphs that I write.
Okay, for writing.
Or make it short, a little shorter. When I do slides, sometimes I want the bullet a little shorter. So
yeah, so for improving your writing.
Yeah.
Bona? That's image generation, right? So you just simply give, yes, sir?
I also use Copilot to fix an issue on my computer.
Copilot, okay, that's good. So you're trying to get or troubleshoot. Any other?
Everybody can keep the mics on and just don't turn them off. So this we can just grab it.
I use it if I want to learn like a new programming language or a language that I don't know how to write like a code or script in it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically just write it for me. Not 100% correct. Okay, so I have kind of to make sure that the logic is correct. But just it puts everything together and you can like start from there. So you are like multiple steps ahead here.
Yeah, that's great. This is for learning. We're going to see that. So this is just, you brought also a very, very important point, which is not always correct, which is what we call the hallucination. We are going to see that.
Most of the time using the Kraken, using for great articles related to research stuff. You should do some search inside of Microsoft instead of just wasting time to get something.
Is it more of like searching?
Yeah, but usually AI using that kind of guidance or giving subtitles or headlines for everything instead of just take it as a minor.
Yeah, that's a great application.
Language translation.
Language translation, that's a great point. Yeah, so it means that we can see, right? I mean, the application is anywhere. It could be personal. Everything that I have in my question, I don't even go to any person. I just simply open, even if it is like a silly one, you can just like go and ask question and it will give you a lot of answers. Even though is not always correct. So it means that the application is very, very integrated to our lives. That means personally and also professionally. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'll just use actually the technology to help me introduce this application or this presentation, instead of for me just like do it and memorize that, and then hopefully it will help me. So what I'm going to do is have you ever used the voice application in the ChatGPT side? So it's just more of conversational. You can ask any question and then it will answer for you. Also, hopefully it will go through.
Website.
Say it again.
App or website?
It's an app. It's an app. I think it doesn't work. The voice version doesn't work, I think, in the website. It should be an app.
It works on the website, but you have to be in laptop instead of phone, mobile phone, and make sure your driver for your mic works correctly with your web access.
Okay. Yeah, I usually just use from my phone for scripting, writing, and searching. I use also from my laptop. So let's see how it goes. Hey, I'm in front of my community presenting about generative AI and the latest developments. Can you help me introduce to my audience about what this presentation will be?
Of course. Here's a simple and engaging way to introduce your presentation. Good morning, afternoon, everyone.
Right?
Today, we're going to dive into a fascinating and fast-growing area of technology, generative AI. This field has been making headlines recently with some exciting developments, from creating art and music to revolutionizing the way we interact with technology. In this presentation, I'll guide you through what generative AI is, how it works, and some of the most recent advancements. By the end, you'll have a better understanding of how it can impact different industries and even our daily lives. How does that sound for a start? You can follow it up with a brief outline of what you'll cover next.
That sounds great. But also, can you translate this to Arabic, but make it a little bit short? Let's have it.
Sure. Here's a shorter version in Arabic. صباح مساء الخير جميعاً. اليوم سنتحدث عن مجال مثير وسريع التطور في التكنولوجيا، الذكاء الاصطناعي التوليدي. هذا المجال أحدث ثورة في العديد من المجالات، من إنشاء الفن والموسيقى إلى تغيير طريقة تفاعلنا مع التكنولوجيا. في هذه العرض سأشرح لكم ما هو الذكاء الاصطناعي التوليدي وأحدث التطورات فيه، وكيف يمكن أن يؤثر على الصناعات المختلفة وحتى حياتنا اليومية. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments.
Okay, hopefully it's a correct one, but I don't know Arabic though. Was it correct? Was it okay? At least can give the introduction. Okay, that's good. All right, so this today's presentation, we're going to see, I think it's a little bit further. We're going to see if, depending on just like how we started, so we'll start just, you might hear a lot of jargons actually, sometimes, AI, ML, generative AI, and so on. So what we're going to do is we'll start briefly and what these terms are and what their difference is, okay? So we'll start with that, and then we'll do some demos. Once we have some demos with different applications, we'll start also in terms of the generative AI applications. I think we have mentioned a lot of applications, but we'll see also some interesting applications so that we can use it in our daily lives. The other one is also very important, is on the impact of generative AI or AI in general for the economy and also in the job market, because it's transforming things. So we'll see some of the impact that it's making. Some key concerns. This is also another very important aspect. So what are the key concerns that we can, when we're applying to generative AI, what are the limitations and also concerns on that? But at the same time, since this one is a very fast evolving technology, there is a lot happening. So there are some initiatives actually also in terms of the AI regulations around the world. So we'll see what are these regulations, in which state they are, and so on. And hopefully we'll get some action items or call to action at the end. This is just like more of as a starting point, but feel free if you have any questions, we can jump in here and there. It's more of an informal one, so feel free to ask any questions at any point. So before we start, is it just us that we're seeing here the transformation, or what are the experts saying about this technology? Is it just like more of as a linear, development, or is there something going on? We said in our topic that it's AI revolution. Is it a revolution? Is it just that we're sensing, or the experts are also saying the same thing? So let's see what they've said. So Bill Gates, we all know that, right? So what he says in his recent article with the title, "The Age of AI Has Begun." That's the letter that he wrote. So what he said was the development of AI is a fundamental as the creation of the microprocessor, the personal computer, internet, and the mobile phone. It will change the way people work, learn, travel, and get health and communicate with each other. So we can compare this revolution as compared to, we can see our mobile phones, right? It's very well integrated to our lives. We can see the internet, right? We can do nothing without the internet. So it means that it's just going to be the same as that one. That means that's the revolution that's happening around us. The other one is Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, the owner of ChatGPT, actually. So this is what he said. Generative AI has the potential to transform the way we interact with machines and make them human-like. So that's his quote. This is more of into, he's a professor, Andrew Yang. Some of you might know him. He's a Stanford professor, one of the front runners actually in the field of AI. So he says, AI is the new electricity. So we can see now all people are saying about this. Okay, let's start with the basics now. So what is this AI, ML, or artificial intelligence, or machine learning, and generative AI? What are these terms? Are they the same? Are they different? Let's see. So this is, I think, the simplest one that you can understand here. So this big circle, there are different circles that are one over the other. So you can see how big one over the other is. So the first one is just the biggest one is the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, or AI, it refers to the machines mimicking human intelligence. Artificial intelligence, right? Human intelligence. So where the machines are trying to mimic the intelligence of humans, it's actually inspired from that perspective. So this is the field what we call the artificial intelligence. And the subset of AI is called, one of the subsets of AI is machine learning, or ML. So this is a subset of AI focused on learning based on the data. So we get a lot of data, right? It's just the same as how a baby learns, right? So when he's a baby or an infant, he just like gets a lot of information through different senses, actually. Maybe by visualizing, maybe by sensing or smelling, tasting, all these senses. The baby is getting a lot of information, actually. It's exactly the same. So the machine learning thing is just like, it's more of teaching the machine by using data, or you give the data and then the machine can learn so that it can recognize what it learned. The other one is more of, so the space is becoming smaller and smaller here. So the deep learning is also a subset of machine learning that use neural networks for complex pattern recognition. So it's the same, but it uses a special algorithms actually called neural networks. Oh, go ahead.
Would it be possible once you're done running through each subtopic to just give an example of how it's used in our day-to-day lives. So for example, autonomous vehicles might go through some machine learning or just something like that, so we can all kind of visualize.
Yeah, definitely. So what I'm trying to do is just like more of as a term, just like which one is bigger, because you can apply the same problem in different perspective actually. So for example, the autonomous cars could be just like in any of those ones, because it depends on the data, so that you can apply also in different algorithms. So it's not just like it's categorized on one, it's just more of just like a special algorithms that can be used for different purposes. But we'll see also the examples on how we can use all those ones.
What are neural networks? What's that?
So neural networks, this is inspired actually. So all this, yeah, exactly. So this is inspired from neuroscience actually, from biology. So we have the neurons, right? So the neurons, when the message is, it's being sent from our brain, there are these neurons. I don't know if we have any doctors around here. Yeah, so maybe can you explain a little bit about the neurons, how the message is transmitted, and how do you have to just like adjust all these messages?
Outside nerve or sensory nerves to the neurons, and from the neurons to the brain, and the brain will reflect what you should do.
Yes. So in terms of the AI, the neural networks is just like more of transmitting. So what it does is the input is always the data, right? The sensor. So for example, here in neurons, we get some sensors, and that sensor is going to be sent somewhere, so that, for example, when a signal is sent from our brain, when we're thinking about just like moving these hands, we don't go to our legs, right? It has to correctly go and adjust it depending on how the signal is going, right? So it's going to be the same. So the neural networks are special algorithms, actually, that are used or learned. It's just more of, how would I say, the adjustment of the weight in a sense that the signal is correctly adjusted. So for example, let's say we have a picture of dogs and cats, let's say that, okay? So we want to teach the machine just like which picture is a picture of cat and which picture is a picture of a dog. So what we do is we just give a lot of pictures of cats and also a lot of pictures of dogs, so that what it's doing is a picture is just simply a pixel, a color, right? So what it does is every pixel of this data, it will be transmitted to those neurons. I can also show you a picture of it. It's going to be a little bit technical. I don't want to go just like more of technical, but if you're interested also, we can have some other sessions. But just to give you. If you see on the right side here, okay, so the input is a little bit smaller if I zoom it here. So on the left side, the data is input, right? So as I said, it's an image, right? All these pixel numbers are going to be input from the left side. So each of these pixels will be transmitted. This is one type of neural networks, actually. And then all this data is transmitted from the left to the right, okay? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it means that we have 5 classification. We call this classification is just more of like, is it a cat or a dog? So we have 2 classes as of now. But if you add also some other animals, then it means that it's going to be, the category will be more, that means. So in this case, what it's doing is getting the data, which is the image, the pixel numbers. Particularly, these numbers could be just like any number between 1 and 255, depending on what color is that and the shape of it is. And then it will go here, and then at last it will just adjust itself so that it gives a probability, actually. So everything in machine learning on AI is just more of a probability or statistics, right? So this is probability of 0.9, for example, out of 100. Then this probabilities, or this is just a dog, or this is a cat. That's why there is always an error. It's not just like it says 100% this or 100% that. So it's just more of numbering so that it gets the probability as close as possible. But if anyone is just interested, I don't want to go just like more of to the details of this technical, but feel free to connect me offline. So the last part is, the last type is the generative AI, actually. So this is generative AI is one particular subset, actually, in terms of from the deep learning. So these algorithms are being used. Generative AI, as its name implies, is about generating contents. It could be any contents. It could be a text. It could be image. We'll see the different contents that we can have, but generative AI, as its name implies, is more of generating any data that we have.
Excuse me, Tesfigavir. Everything that you've talked about so far, is this in like the narrow AI category?
Yes. So we're just like starting from more broader and then narrowing down to the specific ones. So this is one aspect, but you can also do other things. So what we are going to focus now is just more of the generative AI because it's dominating, even though it's very important, but in terms of the field, it's more of as a subset of that. So there are things, actually, for example, if we see from machine learning, there are some algorithms. I say algorithms, right, in terms of the deep learning. These are the neural networks, but there are also some other non-neural network algorithms that can be used. So we don't categorize them more of as a machine learning or generative AI. So it's more of with the algorithmic side, but from the application, we can just apply different algorithms depending on the problem. Go ahead.
So the generative AI, the innermost one, is the only component that produces application useful for people. The other shells are concepts, right?
It can also, other parts also it can produce. So for example, let's say we have this category of cats and dogs, right? So it's more of classification. So we can do this one more of a generative AI indirectly, but this is specific to the deep learning, or it can also be categorized to machine learning. So it can do different ways. So for example, let's say we have whether the student will pass or fail, right? Depending on his data, how he's performing, how is his absenteeism, and all this data, then you want to categorize it. So this is not generative AI because you have the data already, but you want to categorize whether that student will fail or pass, right? So this is just like more of a different way. So all of them, you can produce applications, but the applications that you can use could be different. Great questions. So bring them. Okay, so let's see the different modalities, or what is the input that is getting, and also what are the outputs that we can get from this generative AI. So where particularly now our focus is more of to the generative AI because it's now the dominant one. So what are the modalities around here? So the modalities, in a sense, what are the inputs that we can have here? So the first one is we can have a text. So let's say, for example, you can ask, I think one of you say, just like giving a text so that it can shorten, right? For example, or you have an email, right? Long email, and then it can shorten it, or you can make it look professional or informal, and so on and so forth. You can also ask, just like any text, or write me an article about this topic, and then it can give you all the article or the text. So it means that this is more of as a text. The image, so you can also give an image. We're going to see this in the demo, so that you can also give an image or any picture, and then you can ask to describe that one. It's very detailed. It can describe it in a different way, so it can be very as detailed as you can have. So you can have also an input, an image as an input. It could be audio. You can input audio, video, and also from the output perspective, you can get text, the same thing, video, image, and so on and so forth. So they are all, just like you can have the text, you get a text, you can have a text, you can have also as an output the image, the video, and so on and so forth. So these are what we call, if we have more than one, we call this multimodal from the technical perspective, where you have different types of outputs at the same time. So you can give an image and also text so that it will be helpful to get more information for the output that means. So we'll see this more of with the practical one. So who are the main players in the area? So you might have heard only the ChatGPT, I think, right? I mean, just like most of us, just with the ChatGPT, because this is the one who brought through the technology in terms of just like its capability. But we have also OpenAI is the owner of ChatGPT. Gemini is from Google. Llama is this is from Facebook or Meta. And Cloud there is a startup actually called Anthropic. So these are the main, but there are also a lot of startups that are making a huge difference around this area. In terms of actually the image generators, so the first one is just like it could be text to text or text and image to text. It can also other outputs, but you can also have, as I say, text to image, which is just the image generator, right? So we have also different players around that. OpenAI is one of the front runners, but Google, Meta, and all these big companies are also the players around that one.
I have a question.
Sure.
So you showed like 4 different producer, if you will. This usually happens with open source. Is AI an open source?
Yeah, that's a great question.
What is open source?
Yes.
Open source, like code that no one owns it, no one can benefit of it. People contribute freely to it. Society of developers.
Yeah, so that's a great question. You brought a very good point here. So when we say, so there are 2 categories, closed source and open source. So this is more of popular in software development. If you are here, I think you are some of you are software developers. So what it does is the software, it can be, you can see the source code of the software, right? If you can see it and modify it, we call it as open source. But if you cannot see it, so you see an application, right? Doing, for example, playing a game, but you might not know how the code was made or what is the code about that one is. So this one is the closed source or proprietary because the company hide the code, but it gives you the application. ChatGPT is one best example for closed source because we don't know what it looks like. So I say the neural networks. So the technology behind that is one special type of neural network which are called the transformers. So this is more of an architecture. If you saw the pictures that I saw it just like from the search about the neural networks, these are the combinations, right? There are a lot of inputs that are coming in from one stage to the other. So it is more of an art, actually, on how to design all this. So OpenAI, the owners of, the ChatGPT, there was this, an iterative process where you have different versions. So, for example, GPT-4, so GPT-4 means there must be GPT-3 before. So GPT-4, GPT-2, it was open. So you know the architecture, what it looks like in terms of just like the structure, how it was designed. But what they did is in GPT-4, since the capability was, out in the sky, then they just hide it. It could be different reasons. It could be from business perspective, competition, right? And also it could be also from concerns of just like handing this over, this powerful technology to someone who's doing something bad, right? So they can utilize in different perspective. So the closed one is just like more of proprietary, and the other one is the open source. So all these companies, they are categorized, actually, they do have some side from the proprietary and also from the open source. The leader in the open source is Llama, which is Meta. Meta is just like, it's actually advocating more of into open source. They give these big ones, all these models, it's very big, it's in gigabytes, sometimes in petabytes, and then it gives all the ways how it was done. So it trains this with big data and then give this to anyone to use that, okay? So that's one open source. The other one, ChatGPT, we don't know the structure. It's very closed. We know how to do that, how to just apply it, but we don't know. Gemini is also the same thing for Google. So there are different things that's happening actually in parallel.
I have a question.
Sure.
So if it's open source, you cannot really put regulation on it. If it's available to everyone, right? How can you regulate something like that?
Yeah, that's a great great question. So she said, if it is open source, how can we regulate it? If you give this to anyone, how can you regulate it? Because anyone can do anything, right? Yeah, so how can you prevent from someone doing something bad using that technology?
To simplify what the AI is, do you know Google? When you open google.com and try search and query for stuff, it's a new generation of Google. So Google in the beginning, when you just try search, hey, I need to use IM, like kind of chat application. It gives you very limited varieties. In AI, they start making you more advanced option. So is that open source? Yes, it is, but it's the same as Google. So if you told Google something and Google kept it as something, say, Bishoy asked it for buying car, you will continue getting a lot of commercials say, do you want to buy a car? There is 0 interest rate, there is blah, 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 blah. Because Google, as an open source search, got the information for me and start sell this information for other companies. Same way in ChatGPT or any AI application, they're using this search way to sell your information or sell what you're looking for. It's open source, yes. Some of them closed source right now. Like if you go with Microsoft Azure and they start to use multiple healthcare companies start to use that right now, they try to make the AI summarize what the patient has and give the doctor a conclusion like half of page instead of just read a lot of paragraphs. So the closed source, it just saves the stuff and keep it close to the database or keep it close to the company it is, wherever they own it. The open source, you just don't query, if you use it, your own, what are you doing in this open source? The same, the people work in IT field, they know about Linux. How is this open source thing? It was huge and open source, and no one owned it. Suddenly, we got something called Red Hat. We got something called new versions of it. And each version giving you new feature and be closed source. And that means more stronger. So use the capability of this monster or this beast to your business or to your data, to analyze your data or to help you for something.
Yeah, that's a great point. So let's just maybe focus now to very important question, and then I will get back to your idea. I think you brought a very good point here. So if we're just like giving this away to anyone, they can do, right? I mean, whatever they want, right? Just very, yeah, exactly. So we're going to see more of into the regulations, actually. There is a lot of talks, actually, more of into, do you have to be strict or do you have to be a little bit loose so that, there is some pros and cons in both. So what they do is, just like, for example, in Meta or Facebook, what they do is, once they build the models, once they are ready, they actually test. they do have a special team called red teaming, or they can also release this one to a special users, any beta users or alpha users, very small users that are extensively testing the models against whatever they want. So for example, I can ask how to build bomb, right? But this one is not ethical, right? So I don't want this model to answer me all the steps because this is not ethical, right? So what they're doing, even though it's still not 100% successful or proof case, but they are trying to test it before they release it. Because if they release it, I mean, it's more of innovation versus regulation, actually. We're going to see more of into the regulations side, but if you are very strict, you're safe, but with safety, sometimes you lose the innovation side. Because you're giving the technology on how you did it, because there are millions of people that are researchers that are deep into this, right? So once the technology is given to them, they can improve it quickly. Actually, at the beginning, ChatGPT was the only one actually very capable. But now it's very comparable, actually, on the open source side, which is the Llama Meta, and also Gemini versus, and also the ChatGPT. Because it's open source, anyone can modify it, anyone can invent and have it very comparative to the proprietary. Because if it is proprietary, we are on the mercy of these big giants, right?
Yes.
So
They use videos, of somebody who did not say anything, and they made the image talk like he is really talking.
yep.
And this is really scary. Anybody can say anything. What about the court? If you give a video like this to the court, they think that, yeah, you said that, or you
Yep.
did that.
That's true. Sure.
Okay, one more question, but just a couple of reminders, please. I think we're on slide like 4 or 5.
4 or 5, yeah.
So try to make your comments brief and to the point, and the questions, direct and on topic, please.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we can stay here the whole night. We'll not even finish that. Okay.
Excuse me.
Go
Can
ahead.
this end up in destruction of the people? يعني everyone can do what he wants. If it goes to somebody who is bad, يعني he can do whatever. We have many bad people nowadays.
Yeah, so I'll just close this maybe just with, as I said, right? Yes, it might go to bad people, unfortunately. But there is nothing actually that's bulletproof 100% in this world. Because you just have to, especially this is very fast evolving. The one that you see today, it might not be available tomorrow, unfortunately, or fortunately. So there is a lot of things happening actually every day. All these innovations is happening every day. So it means that a lot of changes is happening. It means that the one that's bulletproof today might not be bulletproof tomorrow, right? So there is still this thing, actually, especially on the countries. The world countries are also taking different ways, actually, different steps. Do they have to be more innovative, loose regulation, or do they have to be very strict? So we are going to see that in the next slides about these things. Okay, I'll go to the next one, maybe, just to make sure that we're covering. Sure.
Okay, when you talk about the open source versus closed source and like the models that are available through Llama, you're just talking about the model, not the data that it was trained on, right?
The model, yes.
So in that example, where people are taking like photos of somebody who didn't give permission or whatever, and then they make a video or whatever, that's like a copyright question, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not really a technology for the algorithm of the model.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, more of, there is a lot of topics also around that, just like which data do you have to use this for training those huge models, right? So there is this copyright thing, but what I was talking about in terms of open source and proprietary is just actual the models that you give, a text, for example, a question, and then it gives you an answer for that. So it means that the assumption is there is this huge data that's already input to that models. They learned a lot about the world model, and so that it can answer any questions. Okay, so let me quickly go. I'll show you a little bit of just like different, not everything, but just, so for example, ChatGPT, I think most of you might be using as of now, so we'll quickly just demonstrate it. And then there is one interesting one actually that's it's a startup company that I usually just like it. It's Perplexity. I don't know if anyone have used before, Perplexity. This is more of an answer engine, like it's that's different from the search engine. So Google, what it does is when you ask a question, it doesn't give you the answer, right? It gives you the links that answer that question. But this one, it gives you the links, the source, but at the same time, it answers that particular question. So we'll see that one. It's very interesting. The other one is also this Suno app. There are a lot of apps, but this is just as an example. You can give a text, and then it can create the lyrics of that text, and also music. That's the real music. So we'll see if we get time around this.
Is Perplexity more reliable than ChatGPT?
They use the same thing, actually. The LLMs, or what we call the models, are called large language models. So the LLMs underneath, they use the same. So the Perplexity, it uses any models under the hood, but also it's connected with the internet. So most of the time, ChatGPT, it uses some internet data, latest one, but it's not as matured as what it should be. But this one is very specialized so that it gets the latest answers. Okay. Yeah, sure. What do you want to ask here? So I do have my daughter. So what I'm going to do is I will create a story for her, a storybook. So write me a storybook for my own daughter. Okay, so what I'm saying is just storybook. So let's see what it creates here. So it gave me I can also restrict it just like what it's about, but just also I just made it very open. So Lila and the Magical Garden, page 1, it starts with a text. So it says here, is it readable? Yes. It starts with once upon a time in a little house and blah, blah, blah. So we have also some caption here. So it means that you can insert an image, actually. So the page 2, this one is page 2 here, all this with these captions. So this one is just like you see here, page 8 up to the end. So we have 8 pages. What we can do is we can also create, let's say, for example, walking back through the gate. I will copy this one, create an image for this. It is generating, actually. So Leila walking back through the gate, looking over her shoulder with a happy smile, a magical garden glowing softly behind her. So this is the prompt. A text, the input text, we call this one as a prompt. A prompt is an input to the model. So you see here, you can see, it's not real. It's just get it through the text, that means. So you can see, I think, some of the concerns that you said. I mean, if I see this one somewhere, I would say that this is a real.
Could you tell it to, like, once it's written its story, could you tell it to go in a specific style? Like,
Yeah.
could you say, rewrite the story?
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah.
Change the background. What I'm going to say is change the background of the picture.
Can you ask it to make it Coptic? Actually, I'm not getting, you can do
Let's
this.
see.
Make it Orthodox.
What does Coptic look like?
No, Coptic language. I mean, like, just talk about like a
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. You see here? So the background was this, if you can see here, and then now it adds actually more of greenish around here. So it gave me just two options actually here. So you can control it. I think this one is just like more of as a, as a chat, but you can also particularly change the style. There are some specific actually models that can also do like the Midjourney. I don't know if some of you have used it. It's very specialized. You can do very high grade images actually. So in this example, what we see, just want to show you to those who have maybe not used it, but I think most of us will use that. So you can have a text. Through text, you can create a text, another text. So you can create an article about this topic, and then it will give you. I think some of you were saying about learning, right? I want to learn this thing. Give me all the contents. It will give you step by step about this topic. So you don't even need it. We're going to discuss about this, but you sometimes don't need a teacher to learn different topics. So that's very interesting. So we have this in terms of the inputs and the outputs. The other one that I want to show you is, or I will skip just the sake of time, but for the perplexity, this one is, you can change the models, but this one is just connected. It's just the same as Google search, but it will also process the answer. So let's say, for example, you can ask any questions, but let's say, give me the summary of stock market today. Okay, so I might need some news about it. So it gives you also all the steps on how it's searching. Search for today's stock market summary, and then summarize it. So it's one step further than just like Google search. That means in Google search, it will simply give you the raw data, but here it can give you the answer. So here, these are the sources. At the top, these are the sources that is used. And then we have, based on the search results provided, here is the summary of the stock performance today, September 20, 2024. A measure, blah, blah. And then we have also a citation here. So if you want to go to the original website, there is this, for each of these ones, it gives you the citation, where it got the information, so that you can also confirm, because there is this hallucination thing that it can make up things. So you can go to this website and check it by yourself, that means. So this is one level up. So what it's doing is simply searching the information, but the large language model is processing that one. So this is what we call the retrieval augmented generation, where you give the input, where you give the context of the question that you're trying to answer. And then the large language model, what it does is it will read the input that you gave to it, and then it will process the answer based on that. Because if you are simply asking from ChatGPT, it will rely on the past data because it used a lot of data to train to get this information, but it doesn't have today's information or yesterday's information or something. So there is a cutoff. So you just add it also. Companies, they are using it as of now because companies, they do have proprietary data. That's how they leverage things, right? Maybe, let's say, for example, Apple, a lot of data from its users. And then what it does is just like they use this data, they augment it, and then they give to the large language model, and then they can get very specific answers depending on the data that they have that means. Sure.
Does it feed itself? Like, for example, if I ask a question,
Mm-hmm.
like I say, I tell it a fact, like to ChatGPT, you know, like, Wasim is crazy, or something like that, okay? A fact. So when, okay, the next day, if someone else is asking, is Wasim crazy? It's gonna say yes, and it's gonna like feed itself. Okay, why am I asking this? Because now we are using it to, you know, write articles or something like that, okay? So can this mislead us like somewhere, like, you know, because right now we're gonna rely on it more and more, and so we're gonna have like one structure of like writing, or, you know, if there's like a problem in ChatGPT right now, it's gonna be amplified. That's gonna be the only thing that we have. Do you see my point?
Yeah. That's
Are you
a
saying
great
it
question.
can like get biased? Like, are there going to be biases?
Basically, because, you know, like the only thing it sees is its own, and we take this, and this become ours as humans, right? And it trains on it, and it just is gonna be like a cycle.
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, there is a loop mechanism that's happening, but it's not real time. So what they do is ChatGPT, for example, you ask the question, right? And then it gives you the answer. If you see at the end, it will give you, is it helpful or not? Did you prefer this? Or also you can ask regenerate. It can regenerate another version. And then it gives you which one is better. They are collecting data, okay? So it's collected and given to the servers, and then they collect all this data. Maybe they might need to verify it, and then once they verify that, they use that one to update or improve the models in general. I think I saw somewhere here. Huh?
Yeah, related to that question, the source that they're trained based on, how do we know that those are legitimate sources, and how do we know that they will continue to be, that they don't start getting infected with other AI, that, you know, that they're actually human created, not artificially created?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't know, actually. Those companies, they simply scrape data from the internet and they train it. There is a lot of actually legal actions that's happening, actually. So ChatGPT, owners, OpenAI is getting a lot of legal complications around, for example, this entertainment news media companies like New York Times and others, they are suing actually to OpenAI, ChatGPT, because they saw that they use their data, their historical data, to train their models. So there is a lot of things happening. I mean, we cannot ensure that. Companies say that we didn't use it, but how do you ensure that? I don't think there is a legitimate way. Sometimes you can ask the model just to make it very prescriptive, but also those companies they restrict from doing it so that it will look like a different one. So there is a lot of things happening. There is no 100% way of just like doing that.
Oh, I have one question as well. It's also related to this because we're talking about the AI feeding itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since things like ChatGPT are large language models, they can't necessarily know that they're right. But this is going to go more in like they're taking our jobs direction, because let's say ChatGPT can produce code, and the code, it doesn't necessarily know if it's right, and it's up to me as the human to test the code. Could we integrate it with a compiler and test the code itself verifies that it's true and it's able to produce code. And on top of that, could it feed its own source into itself and improve itself over time?
Yeah, you're bringing a lot of very, very great questions. So I think let's keep this one for now, this
Okay.
question. This is very nice. I'll come to the next topics, but if we don't answer that, please bring that at the end. That's a great, interesting question. So for the sake of time, maybe I'll show you quickly this, and then we'll go directly. This is Suna, actually. I mean, you can, sorry if there is any offense here. So what you can do is you can go and create it here. So this is just like simply you can give a text. So for example, give me pop music that about this, and then what it does is it will create first the lyrics, and then depending on what type of genre you want to use, and then it can also create the music. It really looks, I just created here maybe with a text. That I created, actually. Let's see.
Rise up together, hand in hand, across this nation, strong we stand. Differences melt.
So what I did is just like I give what type does it want to just like to generate the lyrics. So even the lyrics here is just like I asked it, but just like about AI democratization, using that just like to give every access to anyone. So it gave me just like all the lyrics here. It's a small one here, but you can also increase the length of that, and then it will create just like the whole song. It's not distinguishable from right?
Sorry, I have a question. When we ask the AI to generate stuff for us, do we own this stuff, or the company that has the AI own it? So can I say the AI helped me with it, but I own it? Like maybe that church here can create songs and we use it, put it on YouTube, because sometimes we don't have the copyrights for the songs. If in that case, do we get sued by the AI company that created these things for us, or we can use it freely? Is it ours or theirs?
Yeah, that's a great question. Great question. So what these companies do is usually they give you the ownership. Okay, that's why you're not sued. But for example, this company can be sued by, for example, musicians, because I think there is a lot of legal actions against this company. I think startup that they just okay, this looks mine exactly, that's mine, and then they are suing because you don't know. Actually, raised a very good point before, right? I mean, just how do we know where the data is coming from? Maybe they are collecting this data from YouTube or from other sources, and then just creating the models so that it will look very similar to that, right? There was also some hit music actually that happened from very popular singer here in the US, and then it was a hit music. So it was AI generated. So it's very competitive in terms of just what it can create. But just to your question, most of the time you have the ownership. They give you because these companies want you to use it, because otherwise, if you don't have the ownership, then they don't get the money around that.
If you teach, is there a way you can find out if the assignment was created by AI?
Great question. Yeah, let's go.
I think they have software programs now that teachers use, specifically in college, where they can detect, like, AI helped write this essay. And I think if you're a teacher, if you have a poor student and then all of a sudden they're writing like William Shakespeare, you're like, okay, who helped them?
Well, we'll bring this one. I think actually it's a very complex problem. It's very hard. I mean, yes, you can. For example, yeah, as you said, if it's just like, if it's not doing nothing and then all of a sudden it's getting a lot of things, then yeah, of course. But it is not easy. It's a very complex research problem, actually. But we'll see, actually. We'll see all these concerns. We have the application side. Can I move on? I see a lot of questions, but hopefully we'll answer them when we go here.
This is very interesting. Can we get another session?
Of course, anytime. If Abuna can pay me, that's good. Of course, yeah, we can have it. I mean, I think this is just very important topic. So
It'll be 8:30 in about 10 minutes, so maybe we can let the Tasfagari go through the rest of the presentation.
yeah. So I don't want to. I think you might have seen the text to video too. So I showed you the text to text, text to image, and so on, and also text to music. But there is this very interesting one. Maybe let's see one last one. Doesn't have. See here this, oh, you don't see it here. One sec. You see this video? This is AI generated video. It's not real. So it gives you the prompt. This is a prompt here. Let me see. You see here? A movie trailer featuring the adventures of 30-year-old space wearing this blah, blah, blah. You just give this text only. This is what you get. It's not real. See here? It's just with that text. You can see how detailed and high definition it is, right? Photorealistic close-up of this one. This is very interesting, actually, even the way it does. This is in a coffee cup. Coffee cup, two pirates. You can see, I mean, you can, this is just imaginary, right? So you cannot take this one in reality. This one, all these people are imaginary. They're not real. Yeah.
So there's a lot of fear mongering around, like, that this is going to really like take away jobs, but it seems like this actually is going to take away jobs, right? I'm watching that and I'm thinking there's no need for an advertising agency. You can just plug in a prompt and have multiple things to choose from, and in-house you could just choose whatever your branding is or whatever you want. Like, there is legitimacy in that this is really going to, like...
I think it's very similar to the way that the cotton gin probably took jobs back in the day. AI will definitely take jobs, but it's not going to take everyone's job. It would be like saying, you know, the calculator is going to replace mathematicians. At the end of the day, you still need somebody who knows how to use that tool. AI is a tool for us. It will replace jobs, but not all of our jobs.
Okay, sorry, okay. I'm a little bit more on the Luddite end of the scale.
Sorry, can we keep discussion on the topic? Yeah, we'll come back. Yeah, I do have a topic for this. Okay, so let's see some applications. I mean, you have seen already where we can apply, especially I think who asked about the question about education, right? So that's very important actually, as most of us are parents, right? So we need, for our kids, for ourselves, how do you upgrade and upskill yourself? So in education, you can apply it in different ways actually. So one is in terms of adaptive learning. Adaptive learning, the education system nowadays is just like, it's always been just like all the students come together here, they just like learn, right? So some of them might be fast learners, some of them might not be, right? So, but all of them are in the same pace. So this one, you can do this as adaptive learning where anyone can, the AI can adapt depending on how fast that learner is, right? So you can use that one for this one. This is actually that really excites me, personalized tutoring, AI tutor. I'll show you a video on how you can utilize that. You don't even need now a tutor. It used to be very expensive, for the rich people, but now AI can democratize the education system. That's a really, it's very good news in such a way that you can utilize it in that way. I'll show you one video around that. Content generation, as we have said, we can ask the model just like to create for grade 4 math exercise. It can generate the whole exercise for that. Automated grading, this I think, do we have teachers here? What do we have, teachers? Only students? Used to, no, now maybe. So automated grading, let's say, for example, reading comprehension, right? Just like writing. You can imagine how much time it takes just for a teacher, right? Preparing the questions and at the same time also just like, correcting those answers, 2-3 pages maybe. So you can give the rubrics or the requirements, what it looks like in terms of the grading, and then automatically the model can give you the answers for the grading of that. Curriculum design and generation, this is also very important. I think if there is any curriculum, you want to update it, you can update it so you can get a lot of recommendations, even though it might not be perfect, but that could be very good starting point to generate and update curriculum. One thing that I wanted to show you is in terms of the math tutoring. This is from Kahana.
Hi, my name is Sal Khan. I'm the founder of Khan Academy.
1 second. Some of you might have seen it before, but I think this is really interesting for us parents.
Academy, and I'm also the author of a new.
So this is Sal Khan, which is the Khan Academy. So what it's trying to do is trying to use ChatGPT actually for tutoring, math tutoring for his son. Let's see how it goes.
New book about artificial intelligence in education called Brave New Words. And OpenAI invited myself and my son Imran here to try out some of their new technology. And so we're curious about how good it might be at tutoring someone in math on Khan Academy. So let's get it started. It's loading up. All right, make sure you can see our screen.
Actually, in this form.
Hello there.
Yeah.
I'm here with my son, and I'd love you to tutor him on this math problem, but don't give him the answer. You can ask questions and nudge him in the right direction, but I really want to make sure he understands it himself. And he's here in the room, so you can talk to him directly.
Of course, I'd be happy to help. Let's look at the problem together. Can you first identify which sides of the triangle are the...
Can you all see the picture? It's a triangle, okay? It's a math problem, so yeah, okay, great.
Opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse relative to angle alpha?
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha right here, right?
Perfect. That's correct. Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse? Remember
Yeah.
the hypotenuse?
I'm not totally sure. I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC.
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha. The hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle and is directly opposite the right angle. Can you find which one is the hypotenuse?
Oh, okay, I see. So I think the hypotenuse is this really long side from A to B. Would that be correct?
Exactly. Well done. Now that you've identified the hypotenuse, can you identify which side is the opposite side to angle alpha?
Okay, well, I mean, you told me earlier that this was the adjacent side, and I know that's the hypotenuse, so I'm guessing that this side, BC, is the opposite side.
Great deduction. That's absolutely correct. Now that you've identified all the sides relative to angle alpha, do you remember the formula for finding the sine of an angle in a right triangle?
Yeah, I know that the sine is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse.
Perfect. That's absolutely right. Now, can you apply that formula to find side alpha in the triangle using the lengths of the sides that we've identified?
Okay, so, I mean, you told me that 7, this side BC, is the opposite side. And then you said that the hypotenuse is the longest side, so that would be this side AB, which is 25. So would the answer be 7 over 25?
Excellent work. That's correct. Sine alpha equals 7 over 25.
Imagine if we can get this type of teacher in our time. So I think our Okay, so I can share the slides here. Slides after we finish. So I added some resources, actually very interesting, on how it can use in education from Sal Khan on TEDx. Actually, he had talked about this, so I just added a link for this. And also, if you know any teachers in the U.S., Khan Migo, which is AI tutor for Khan Academy, it's used for free, 100% free for U.S. teachers. So you can tell to teachers here. Okay, software engineers in the house. Software engineers, software development. Okay, let's see. I think who was the one who raised about just like how it can create. So in terms of the application, so we have been, just like discussing about the applications, but in software developments, there are these AI assistants or coding assistants actually that can be used. So for example, Amazon Q, it's a chatbot where you can ask a question and then it can create a code for you. GitHub Copilot is also another one from GitHub. This is more of software engineers. And then very interesting one trend that's going on is it's not about asking a question. It is doing by itself. It is not just like you give me a code to do this, to create a calculator. So you can ask to ChatGPT, it gives you the whole code, but you have to take it to the editor so that it can run or you can run it. But one step forward for that is you can give the tools to the AI and so that it can take the code by itself, it runs it, it does the task for you. That's where we are as of now. We call this one as agents, autonomous agents. So that's the trend actually in the technology. So this is the first autonomous AI software engineer. Software engineers, I think you might have seen your buddy here. So this is called Davin AI. It's a startup company who created actually this AI. Let's see how it's doing it.
Hey, I'm Scott from Cognition AI, and today I'm really excited to introduce you to Devin, the first AI software engineer. Let me show you an example of Devin in action. I'm going to ask Devin to benchmark the performance of Llama on a couple different API providers. From now on, Devin is in the driver's seat. First, Devin makes a step-by-step plan of how to tackle the problem. After that, it builds a whole project using all the same tools that a human software engineer would use. Devin has its own command line, its own code editor, and even its own browser. In this case, Devin decides to use the browser to pull up API documentation so that it can read up and learn how to plug into each of these APIs. Here, Devin runs into an unexpected error. Devin actually decides to add a debugging print statement. Reruns the code with the debugging print statement, and then uses the error in the logs to figure out how to fix the bug. Finally, Devin decides to build and deploy a website with full styling as the visualization. You can see the website here. All of this is possible today because of the advancements that we've made in both reasoning and long-term planning. It's a really hard problem, and we've only just started, but we're super excited about the progress that we've made so far.
So this is the creator, actually. I mean, in the industry, it's happening, but this is, I think, the first commercial, more of just like proprietary agents. What it was doing is just like it was given a problem, and then that problem, it created the code, and then it ran using the command line. It has its own command line, and then go to the documentation. It's just the same as what we do, right, as a software engineers. So it was doing exactly the same. That's why.
If you go to the first like minutes of,
First-
when he had the title, if you guys would look at the title, like his name, and then under his name was like a little bit back, like the job title, like at the beginning.
At the very beginning, when they're introducing the guy who spoke,
Uh-huh.
his job title is on the caption.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says human software developer.
AI software developer.
It's like 10 seconds.
You do the same thing, but human hardware.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now, so let's change a little bit of a gear just to have, I think this was the, what is the impact, right? I mean, just in general, and then we'll come back to your questions. What is the impact of generative? So again, I mean, in terms of the applications, we saw just like in terms of education, in terms of, software development, but you can apply it to anywhere, any sector, any industry. This is just as an example that I showed you. In terms of economic impact, and also I think one of the concerns that we had was about the job displacement, right? That's very concerning. So I'll just give two research that happened recently, actually. One is one of the top research institutes, the McKinsey Global Institute. They estimated the annual addition for the global economy. It's going to be around 2.6 up to 4.4, around $4 trillion will be added to the global economy because of this AI. This is only annually. Today's workers' activity to be automated between 2030. Actually, some of the researchers, actually, they are more aggressive. This is a little bit like, so we have this 50%. 50% of the jobs that we have today, it will be automated by 2030 to 2060. Yep. I think this is more aggressive from Goldman Sachs. Another research, an increase in global GDP up to 7 trillion. It's going to be an increase in 7% in the global GDP. And also 2/3 of the US occupation will be impacted by AI automation. 2/3 of that, imagine.
Those words that impacted worker activities, is that actually
That's a great question. Yeah, so I added also a little bit of my recommendation at the end. I think, it's been, I think you said that it's been like from the beginning that, just like generations, right? You do something, there is a new revolution coming in, and then it updates, right? So yes, it's not a new thing, just to change, the jobs or displacement. One of the concerns I personally have, and also other experts have, is the acceleration on the automation. So if you say within 5-10 years, if you're displacing 2/3 of the jobs, then it means that anyone has to, just like have another skill. That means to just like to get a new skill and learn around this. So it's more of like the acceleration that you have to just like cope up with it. So it looks like very aggressive in terms of the acceleration, but that's what it is. I think like Devin, right? Just like if it can do it, the only thing that we have to do is how to utilize the technology to do. So one of the researchers, some of the researchers, what they argue is just like we can focus more of into the creative side as humans, so that all the repetitive ones will be gone by the automation. That's the argument, but still, even the creative ones, just like this music, right? These musicians, you see that they have been doing this for their life, and then now if it's coming automatically, then it's going to be very hard for them to just get a new skill. That's why it's just like the acceleration of getting a new skill versus the technology, the pace of the technology is just like it's not matching. I think that's the main one, that there is a lot of debates around here how you can just like get that one. So a lot of different countries, they took different initiatives actually to make their citizens to be fit and to be ready for this technology. Say it again. Exactly. That's the main concern here. So the concern, as you said, it is the pace of the technology versus the pace of getting a new skill.
At the same time, I feel like it's just we don't look at the like generative AI as a statistical analysis tool, right? So all the results and all that stuff, it's not creative. It's based on data that it has, right? And I think that's the main difference between us and LLM, right? Because LLM is trained over data that it was already produced, right? It cannot create something from the beginning, and that's something, it's gonna be just ours. And I think that's the main difference, and that's like the new generation need to learn what they can, just be creative, right? Because it's all that is statistics. Something that I saw before, and I try to reproduce it, right?
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. So, yeah, as we said, it used just past data, right? Just like to get that one. But I think before 2 days, there was a research paper, I think 2 days or 2 weeks, whatever in this time, there was this research paper. What they asked is, can AI or LLM make innovations? It's more of a research, right? So there was this argument that they can, it can, in some way, it can create. So there is, still it's evolving, but as you've said, yes. So we have to just like more of focus on the creative side, and the LLM can focus on the repetitive side. That's just, as of now, the argument, Anyone? Okay, so let's see just some of the concerns. I think we discussed a little bit on the concerns. So some of the key concerns is about the bias and fairness, right? So human beings, naturally, we're not fair. So, and also the data where the LLMs or the large language models is getting from human data. So it means that it is reflecting the human bias and even exaggerating, or amplifying the human bias that we have. And the other one is in terms of the privacy and data protection, because these LLMs, they use large amount of data to train, so it is very concerning. Job displacement, I think we discussed about it, so it's automation of the tasks. Misinformation, I think this is also a very serious one, where you cannot identify which is AI generated and which one is the real one, so it's very concerning in terms of this. Just from the media that happened, recently, just as an example here. One of the examples, some of you might have seen this one. This is Gemini. This is from Google. They were trying to work, more of, anti-bias to make it fair, right? I mean, just like all these races to just like have equal things, but it's also changing the history. See here? So what it asked is, can you portray the founding fathers, the American founding fathers? And then it gave like Indian Americans, blacks, and so on and so forth, which is a different perspective of history. So it's very delicate issue actually. Even these companies, they do have very hard time in terms of how do they balance between the fact and also the fairness. That's an extreme case that happened.
Oh, excuse me?
Sure.
Sorry. Like 2 slides before that, I think it's mainly like up to the people to do like their own extensive research and to try and avoid asking AI chatbots opinionated questions, because like you said, like it could sometimes generate fake news or even something that you'd probably disagree with, So I think all of us just have to do our own research, at least for now until
something mature.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let me reiterate a little bit and then I'll give you Abuna. So yeah, this is very important actually. You don't have to trust any information that you get. Do your own diligent research just to make sure that you're getting it. So you can try. I mean, it's very hard. It's very complicated. Even you don't even trust. I mean, just like which source should I use? So it's a very not an easy one, but at least you have to get from different sources to make sure that it's true. Abuna?
Question's going to sound a little bit weird, but can people like you add or incorporate humanity or compassion to AI? For example, if AI would look at all humans as consumers of the planet. So to save that, or the solution is let's annihilate half of them or something. Like, can it be taught, I know it's a machine, but like, can it be taught like values? Like, no, the value of human life is very important, so come up with other solutions, for example, or what?
Yeah, so can it be taught just the human values?
Well, human values are data. If you feed the human values as data, AI can use this as a reference.
So, okay. Anyone else?
It can be taught to like analyze the human emotion, but still it's going to use logic to respond to it. It's not going to have human instinct, no matter what. At the end of the day, it's created by a person, and that person will have a kill code to alter it how they want. And it is already in the process of taking jobs from people. If you go downtown, there's a lot of self-driving cars. Right now, there's machines that even take blood samples by being operated by AI. So it is already there. It's just a lot of people refuse to accept or refuse to pay attention to it. It's even listening to every single one of us through the phone.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's the unfortunate truth.
Yes. Even when you speak not in English, we speak in Arabic and.
Well,
I heard a conversation specifically to Abuna's point that first of all, there's no consensus on what values you have to put in the hierarchy for the machine to decide on, right? So that's number one, is that humans don't even have a consensus on the decisions that are made. But to your question about like putting in compassion, so I had heard that they did they ran a model, and compassion was one of the things that had been put in, like input. And they decided, the machine decided that if it would eliminate one, like it was eliminating people based on their contribution to society, that if it eliminated one now, it would save the death of 10 in the future. So its decision was to eliminate the one now out of compassion, so that the 10 in the future didn't have to suffer.
Well,
The AI compassion is calculated.
Right, which is
Yeah.
at the end, at the end of the day.
well,
The really best of our example, would I put somebody's fate into an AI attorney? No. It has to be human.
well,
So you can use that human instinct.
I think though over time there's the way, because AI is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, AI is founded upon like linear algebra, right? In the sense that it's a bunch of matrices that are calculated on top of matrices on top of matrices, right? So it takes in inputs of data, and it essentially is collectivist. Whatever's on the internet will be fed into the AI, or whatever data sets that we have will be fed into the AI, and then the AI pretty much, and for lack of a better term, determines based on accuracy what the decision will be made. Thus, the most accurate decision is according to it, will be made. So essentially, if most people say it's bad to steal, right? The most accurate answer, the first thing that it will spit out is that stealing is bad, right? So it's probably something that's more time and data based, but yeah, maybe today it could say eliminate half the people because somebody on a Reddit forum said eliminating half the people is a good thing, right? And that's the data that it has for now. So I think it's something, it can be taught, and the inputs, just like any other input, same with inputs like for racism or whatever that they put into AI, have to be very well regulated by the company itself. So I don't know, it's in the hands of both people and the company and whoever's managing it.
Think about it, a baby inside a mother's womb is a parasite.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it.
And right now, probably the majority of people in the West believe that, and thus the AI, being fed that data from the West, which also holds the bulk of the world's data, will believe that babies are parasites and we should kill them, right?
Yeah.
The fear of AI is blown out of proportion. I think it's a tool like anything else. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the internet revolution was probably a bigger revolution than the AI revolution. And the internet has become a tool. Now, I personally think we need to adopt, understand, accept that AI is going to be part of our lives. But I think the fear of AI taking over is probably blown out of proportion. It's a tool, like the calculator, like the internet. But our God-given brains and our God-given skills will not be taken over by AI, is my, but at the same time, we need to adopt it and accept it and incorporate it into our daily work. Otherwise, yes, our jobs will be jeopardized by those who've got those skills and can access that tool. And let me give this to
Yeah, maybe I think let's do this one more of as a final one. I think a lot of things. I hear you what you're saying in terms of all these things, but at the end we just have to live with it. So we have to think about how we can adapt ourselves, how to utilize our values, just to make sure that we're just like compatible with the body that we have.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask. What is the environmental impact of AI with the technology use? And then is there a governing board, an ethics board, or, you know, in different professions, we have professional organizations that have an ethical principles that we have to abide by, right, where there's boundaries in place. It doesn't sound like there's boundaries in place for this technology, and like you said, it's moving faster than we can keep up with. And so I guess those are the two pieces.
So maybe in terms of the governing bodies and also the regulations, we have a little bit, even though we don't have much time now, but I will just like skip through a little bit, and what's going on is still just like progressing more, in progress, but we can see what it looks like just to give you more ideas around that, but it's not mature, I can say. So we're in the media just like about the job displacement in Hollywood. I don't know if you heard the news around that. There are a lot of strikes with the writers, the creative people around that. So you can imagine the effect of that. This is a very detailed article from MIT Sloan newsletter about just like the effect of this in Hollywood and entertainment. And then this one, I think you've heard of, most of you have heard of Biden calling to the voters not to vote in New Hampshire. That was a fake call. So it just like scared a lot of people. That was a fake. So in terms of regulations, I think this is important. So I will just like pass through quickly here. What's going on around the world in terms of regulations, since it's developing in a very rapid pace? I think the most matured one that I can say is from the European Union AI Act, EU AI Act. This is relatively, just like a little bit matured as compared to other countries' regulations. But still, I think this is more of into the final stage, but it's not yet adopted. So the idea is just like to categorize the AI applications into levels of risk levels. So they categorize the different applications when you're using it, or these companies are using it, they just categorize it into the 4 levels so that they take different regulations accordingly. These are the unacceptable risk, where it jeopardizes, just like the human life and others. High risk, limited risk, minimal risk, or no risk. So they just like have these categories for each of the applications that you can have. So this is just from the EU Act, AI Act. The US, unfortunately, we don't have nationwide. I think there was one executive order. I think it was last year. This is more of as a guidelines for safe, secure, and trustworthy AI development, but it's not. We don't have AI regulation around that. In terms of UK, the same thing. They do have some policy papers around, principal space, but still under discussions. Singapore, I'm just giving you just as an example where all these countries, they are doing, just like on their own, because it's a very delicate one in terms of, how to regulate it. The most strict one, as I said, and matured one is the EU Act, but also it has a lot of downsides around that because it's also hindering the innovation. What they are arguing is just like Europe is lagging behind. If China and US and others are just like doing in a fast pace, but Europe is not doing it, then it means that is. So it's more of, for the US also, it doesn't mean that they cannot do it, but if they do it, it's a very strict one, then it means that innovation will be hindered. It will be slowed down because there is a lot of, competitions around the world, around global power and economics and all around that. So that's, let me close it by call to action, and then we can finalize. So knowing all these things is happening in a very rapid phase. So how will you engage with AI moving forward? You might have taken a little bit, but I would say, I think you said it, some of you said it very well. We have to adapt it. So we have to learn a new AI skill. Whether we like it or not, It's going to be with us always. So we have to equip ourselves. We have to be skilled so that we'll be competitive around the market. Explore new use AI tools, actually. If there is any tools, be beneficiary. Use that. Any technology that's coming in, try it out. Don't just like say, oh yeah, this is scary. It's going to be with us. So try it. If you try it and you don't like it, you leave it. But at least try it out. Stay informed about the AI developments. It's also very important. So I think we have to stay informed what's going on, what is the latest development that's happening around that. Yeah, that's all for today. Apologies I took a lot of time, but thank you.
Well, I know my job is safe. Can't baptize, can't take confessions, can't give communion, so I'm all right. Although one thing I did hear recently that I want to share with you to give you hopefully some comfort, which is that, you know, when machines came out and took the job of a lot of people, it created a lot of other jobs like mechanics. When computers came out and took the jobs of a lot of people, they created a lot of other jobs, as far as most of you here have to do with something with computers. So kind of like Shireen said, I think with the AI coming out, and it will take some other jobs, I think the cycle will continue. It will create other kinds of jobs. We don't know yet. So, but let's go ahead and stand up and pray.
1 second.
Yes.
Just one information. So, those of you, if you want any other information or if you want to contact me, so you can add me on LinkedIn. I am also here. But also, my friend and I, we occasionally just like, you know, have some discussions online, just like to have some, you know, monthly or bi-monthly. So you can, those of you, especially students, college, and so on, please add this one, and then you'll get notification like when we have that
podcasts
events. It is more of, it's a QA session. Okay. So he's also more of data scientist. And I come here, and then anyone can ask questions about career, about anything related to
this whole tonight's talk and everything will be uploaded on the church's YouTube channel, so you'll have all the information and everything. Just watch the YouTube video. I don't like to ask presenters to give out their slides because it's taken a lot of work to present them. So get what you want from the YouTube video. Let's go ahead and pray. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. The Heavenly Father, God, what do we know? Look, there's so many changes in the world. Probably everything is a double-edged sword, like we have seen so far in history. Lord, help us to cling on to you and to your facts and to your truths, and to put a reliance on you and get our wisdom and guidance from you. And with you, I'm sure we'll be able to deal with and excel through whatever the world throws at us and all the changes that are exponentially upcoming towards us. Lord, thank you for Tesfa Gabir. Please reward him for his labor to present to us and to open our eyes and to give us a balanced look and all the different possibilities and cautions. Lord, bless everybody here today. Thank you, Lord, for this church and the many services in it. We ask you to please hear us through the intercession set Mary and all you saints and martyrs, so please you from the beginning. Through the mighty power of your life-giving cross, please, O Lord, make us worthy to pray thankfully. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And now the love of God, the Father, grace his only begotten Son, our Lord, God, and Savior, Jesus Christ, the communion, the gift of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Go in peace. The peace of the Lord be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Bless you, Habib.
Thank you.
God reward.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Yeah, that was a interesting discussions.
Like that laid the foundation. I wish that we could have another session where we actually go back and forth. How are you?
Yeah, yeah.